Hey everyone, I am Justin of the Fantasy Football Upside. We have a new special series for you to help you win your draft so you win your league, and that is our mock draft series. I'll be mixing up the scoring formats as we go. We'll have number of teams, differences, draft positions, and draft strategies as we go along. So we're going to go through these mocks the way they fall to me to let you know how I would react if you would find yourself in a similar position on that ever-important draft day. Before I hop in, if this is the kind of fantasy football information you are looking for, make sure you hit that subscribe button and click that bell if you're watching on YouTube. Go ahead and give us a thumbs up, a comment on how you would draft differently if you would differently than mine. I want to hear what you are doing as well. Any questions are welcome. So today's mock draft, going to go pretty standard for us on this first one here. We're going to do a standard scoring snake draft, number of teams 12. And let me go ahead and share the screen as well for us. So it should be up now. Once again, it's a standard scoring snake draft, 12 team. I'm going to hit randomize, and looks like we're going to land on the 9th pick today. I got one QB, 2 running backs, 3 wide receivers, 1 tight end, and we're going to have 1 flex spot. It's a wide receiver, running back, tight end, 1 defense, 1 kicker, 6 bench. And when it comes to draft against, and we are using Fantasy Pros as our software today, that's the one we always use, and that's the one we recommend. We have so many different ways you can customize this. But I'm just going to go ahead and use Composite ADP today. So that's going to use our Fantrax and Fantasy Football Calculator. We're big Fantasy Football Calculator ADP guys. So this is good to kind of get a little combination consensus between them. Over here, the default cheat sheet, pretty cool. You can actually set up your own, which I have for different ones, but also you can use the Fantasy Pros one as well. I'm going to go ahead and do mine. I'm going to put the pick clock at none, just so if we need to stop and take a little more time, we can do that. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. Once again, we are at the 9th pick today. So it really kind of depends on how the standard will come out with the 9th pick. We should still have a great options for us with our first pick. And let's see what comes off the board, and then we'll go right into it. So, of course, Christian McCaffrey goes number 1. Number 2, Saquon. Ezekiel Elliott, Dalvin Cook, Alvin Kamara, Derrick Henry, Michael Thomas, Tyreek Hill. So I come over here, and I love this. They have suggestions as well for us. So the top suggestion is Devontae Adams. Then we have Josh Jacobs, Julio Jones, DeAndre Hopkins. So over here on my side, I have DeAndre Hopkins, Josh Jacobs, Devontae Adams, Julio Jones. I am a big believer of trying to do running back. If you still have a value running back, I always go with that one first. I think Josh Jacobs, he may not be in that tier with the Alvin Kamara's, Derrick Henry, and Saquon and Christian McCaffrey, but he is dang close. I really think this is the year that he's going to get all the receptions that they keep begging, asking him to do. This is his 3rd year as well. I just think the sky's the limit for this guy, and I'm going to go ahead and pick him with the first pick, 9th pick overall. And it's just, the guy's going to get volume. They're going to use him in the passing game. This is just a standard league anyways, but I think this is just too good to have as my first running back. So after that, we had DeAndre Hopkins, Devontae Adams, Joe Mixon to round out the first round. And then round 2, we had Nick Chubb, Julio Jones, and Aaron Jones. So looking here, suggestions, a lot of wide receivers that are still available on the board. And if you see over here on the side here, I have wide receivers on my list. Those are my top ones. Chris Godwin, Mike Evans, Kenny Golladay, and then Austin Eckler are my top 4 options based off of my draft board. I look at this and, I like all 3 of those wide receivers that you see on the screen: Chris Godwin, Kenny Golladay, Mike Evans. Chris Godwin, he lives in the slot. And if we all know this, Tom Brady, he threw a lot in the slot. he had Julian Edelman in the slot for many years, and he always got volume. And I think this is something where Chris Godwin is always going to get open in the middle of the field, and Tom Brady is going to be targeting him a lot. Now, I am also a big fan of Kenny Galladay in, because he's always open as well. It's just, I don't know if he gets the targets needed to have him as your number one wide receiver. Now, this might sound a little differently than what we've talked about in the past, where Kyle and I both think of Kenny Galladay as potentially finishing as a top 3 wide receiver. We say that if Matthew Stafford is fully healthy and he gets the share of targets this guy should get because of his talent. He just doesn't get the volume that you would like as of right now. I hope he proves me wrong, because I do like Kenny Galladay a lot, but I just think Chris Godwin is just too good to pass up. I mean, super breakout year. He finished number 2 in standard scoring. Hey, let's hope for the best and have him finish number 2 again with #Tuami throwing the ball. So let's go Chris Godwin with this one. Got a bit of a wait after this one. Now, once again, go ahead, throw a comment down. If you have any questions, or if you think, with my first 2 picks, I went wrong, tell me that. Let me know how wrong I am when it comes to those 2 picks. So let me scroll back up here. After the Chris Godwin pick, Travis Kelce came off the board. So first tight end off the board. Then we had Miles Sanders, George Kittle, my guy George Kittle. I do love me some George Kittle. And then first QB, Lamar Jackson, 8th pick in the 2nd round. Then Kenny Galladay comes off the board. Mike Evans, Patrick Mahomes, Kenyon Drake rounds out the 2nd round. So at the beginning of round 3, we had Amari Cooper, Austin Eckler, Chris Carson, Adam Thielen, Cooper Kupp, A.J. Brown, Mark Andrews, Leonard Fournette. So suggestions here, it looks like they want me to choose Odell Beckham Jr., and then it goes to Allen Robinson, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Todd Gurley. Come over here on my side here. This is what I really like. Once again, this is my draft board. Let me look at the roster real quick. Once again, running back Josh Jacobs and Chris Godwin. Based off my rankings, I have Allen Robinson at my number 24 overall, which would be some good value at number 33 overall. And then I have Todd Gurley. And then I have the rookie, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, or we like to call him the Eclair. And then I have Odell Beckham Jr. at my 29th ranked, which based off this, I'm picking number 33. That's not bad value. You know what I mean? That's 4 picks later than what I have him. There were some kind of head scratchers, in my opinion, that were already picked. Chris Carson, injury concern. Cooper Kupp, I actually think I like Robert Woods a little bit more, even though I do like Cooper Kupp. A.J. Brown is one guy I really like. It's just he caught 50 balls last year. He's going to need to catch about 70, 75 to live up to this round 3 selection. But I'm just going to go straight off my draft board, because Allen Robinson, this is another cool thing about Fantasy Pros. You can see the strength of schedule right here. We've talked about this in our other mock drafts, Kyle and I have, and the Chicago Bears have a great strength of schedule for wide receivers. Number 1, granted, we don't know who's going to be throwing him the ball. It could be Mitchell Trubisky, or it could be Nick Foles. Even with Mitchell Trubisky last year, he finished, I think, as a top 12 wide receiver. And that's what I'm going to be drafting him as a top 12 wide receiver, to team up with Chris Godwin. To be able to get those 2 as my top 2 wide receivers is a stellar deal, especially here in the 3rd round. So I'm going to go ahead and choose Allen Robinson. And what I'm going to hope is, hopefully Todd Gurley kind of falls down a little bit. And because after that, the running back kind of dries up for us. Melvin Gordon's there, James Conner. I would be fine with those as running back 2s, or even David Johnson, just because of the volume possibilities in that offense. So let's just go ahead. I don't feel like I want to go up to get Todd Gurley a little bit. So let's just go ahead and do Allen Robinson and see what happens here. All right. So after my Allen Robinson pick, we had Melvin Gordon, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, the Eclair, and then to round out the 3rd round, we had Zach Ertz. Then top of the 4th, we had Calvin Ridley, Keenan Allen, DK Metcalf. Well, if you have watched our most recent bust episode, both of those last 2 guys, Keenan Allen and DK Metcalf, actually made our bust episode. It's not that we don't like the guys. It's just a lot of concerns. Keenan Allen, who's going to be throwing him the ball? Is it going to be a rookie, Justin Herbert? Or is it going to be Tyrod Taylor? That's a big drop-off from that connection that he had with Phillip Rivers. And even with that connection, there was a lot of consistency issues last year. A lot of weeks where he did not perform for you. And then DK Metcalf is just one of the things. I don't think he's the number one wide receiver on his team. And if we look over here on the side, I wonder if, Tyler Lockett is still on the board. So I just think that's kind of early. Zach Ertz, it's still early. I do like Zach Ertz, but I just don't think in the third round that's good value because they have another tight end that's really good on that team in Dallas Goedert. Melvin Gordon, I don't think that's too bad. Once again, I'm just so happy that this actually landed this way. Odell Beckham Jr. is a guy that I would like to target in drafts. I think he's going to have a great bounce back year. It's just the way that this landed with Todd Gurley here at this pick. Yes, there are injury concerns with Todd Gurley, but he still really performed towards the end of last year. I think he missed like one game last year. And so even with all this stuff coming out, arthritic knees and everything, yes, his numbers were down, but he still performed, still put up numbers. And in this offense, there's going to be a lot of throws, and there's not a lot of running backs behind Todd Gurley that's going to be stealing any kind of carries or goal line carries or targets or anything like that. Ito Smith is his backup, and I just don't see it. So I think they're going to have Todd Gurley on the field as much as possible. They signed him to a one-year deal. They want him to play. So let's just go ahead and choose Todd Gurley, and then we'll have a little bit of a break here before our next pick, and that's going to look really good for us. I'm going to take a quick drink. So after the Todd Gurley pick, we had Mark Ingram. Mark Ingram. That was another one that made our bust episode just recently. Check that out in the description below. Odell Beckham Jr., Tyler Lockett, Le'Veon Bell, T.Y., and then James Conner, Juju Smith-Schuster, David Johnson is the last pick of the fourth round. Then beginning of the fifth, Robert Woods. That's a great pickup, in my opinion, at the top of the fifth round to get Robert Woods. DJ Chark. I was really hoping Robert Woods would fall to me here. DJ Chark, DJ Moore, Devin Singletary, Stephon Diggs, David Montgomery, Cortland Sutton, A.J. Brown. So let's just go ahead and go to my roster real quick, guys. Oh, that's looking pretty good. So running backs, we have Josh Jacobs and Todd Gurley. Wide receiver, Chris Godwin, Allen Robinson. So some suggestions that Fantasy Pros is having me say here is Terry McLaurin. 55% is what the experts say I should do here. His ADP is 66, and we're at the 57th overall, so it's not terrible value here. Dak Prescott, which I do think Dak Prescott's going to have a great year. I just don't pick a QB this early right now. I just think there's value later on that you can go ahead and keep adding depth to your team. And then we have Darren Waller. I do like Darren Waller, just not tight end right now. That's just not what I'm looking for in the fifth round. You can get some more value, just kind of like QB. And Raheem Mostert as well. So if you come over here on my list, I actually have Raheem Mostert pretty high up compared to some other people. And I don't think it can be ignored what he did at the end of the season and into the playoffs. He destroyed the Packers in the playoffs. And the end of the year, I know personally I had him in a couple leads, and he helped me a lot to finish out the year. And, could be recency bias, but some more stuff coming out is he's packing on the weight. I think he played around 205, and I think he's expecting to get the lion's share of the work. And why not, based off what he did last year? A lot of people say, well, he's 28 years old and he's running back. That's old for running back. Yes, but he doesn't have the miles on him like some other running backs do. He didn't really play that much in college. He played at Purdue, which is my arch rival. He didn't really play that much. And then he bounced around the league at the beginning, when he first started off in the pro career. He was an undrafted free agent, bounced around, and last year was his first real work. The year previous, he was starting to get a little work, then he got injured. So I just think this is his job. And yes, Tevin Coleman is there. IU grad. I do like Tevin Coleman. I just don't think he's as talented as Raheem Mostert showed last year. They have Jarrett McKinnon coming back from injury, but he's always been coming back from injury. I believe the other guy is Jeff Wilson, is another running back. They did trade Matt Breida. So, in my opinion, it is Raheem Mostert's job. I like putting running back in my flex position if I need to. There's so much stuff that can happen with running backs, and to have that guy as like almost a depth if I need to start a wide receiver, if let's say they're resting Todd Gurley for a week, I have Raheem Mostert to throw in my lineup. So let's go with him. All right. So after that Raheem Mostert pick, we had Darren Waller come off the board, Kyler Murray towards the end of the fifth round, and Debo. We had a Debo drop here into the fifth round, which is still kind of early in my opinion. So at the beginning of the sixth, we had Devontae Parker, Jonathan Taylor, Deshaun Watson, and now we are back up. Let's go ahead and take a look again at the roster here. Come on, computer. Josh Jacobs, Todd Gurley, Raheem Mostert as my running backs, Chris Godwin, Allen Robinson as my wide receivers. Man, this is looking like a really good team in my opinion. So let's go ahead and go to my draft board. I have Kareem Hunt, Dondre Swift, and then Terry McLaurin, Jarvis Landry. So I have three running backs already. I do like Kareem Hunt this year. He really did eat into Nick Chubb's workload last year. But I just don't have a roster spot for him in the starting lineup right now based off how I had it. Dondre Swift, I like him coming out of college a lot. Kerryon Johnson is always banged up. And I think the Lions, they're going to have a really good offense this year. Yes, they're going to want to throw it a lot. If Matthew Stafford's back, he wants to go back. He wants to throw for 5,000 yards again. That's why I have a lot of shares and a lot of Lions players. And that's why we talk up a lot of Lions players, but they do want to run the ball. I just don't think Kerryon Johnson can do it anymore the way he's been banged up so much. Scary Terry, he is a guy that I do like this year. He came on strong at the beginning of his rookie year last year. I think he was the top 5 play in that first game. So if you had him in your lineup, good job. Let me know if you did. Go ahead and leave a comment if you actually did have Terry McLaurin in your lineup in that first game, that first week. So after that, Jarvis Landry, Dak Prescott. So those are the three guys that I would consider at this position here. Jarvis Landry is another wide receiver that I do like. He is just straight up consistent. I think he's top 15 wide or top 24 wide receiver the last 5 years in a row. It's hard to find that kind of consistency, but he's not the number one option in that offense, and they do have a decent amount of mouths to feed. When I say that, Odell Beckham Jr. is the number one option. They brought in Austin Hooper. He's a big guy. They're going to target him. And Jarvis Landry, he is consistent, but he needs the targets to be very relevant. And I think those targets could come down this year. Supposed to last year, but OBJ was banged up for most of the year. Terry McLaurin, yes, we have, Dwayne Haskins throwing in the ball. Dwayne Haskins played pretty good there towards the end of the last year. And I think he's going to keep taking that next step forward. And, the offense, there's not a whole lot of weapons on that team. And I think it is Terry McLaurin as the 1A, and there's 3 or 4, there's no number 2 there, in my opinion. Yeah, Steven Sims is getting a lot of love out there. Darius Geis, I like the guy. That could be a guy that I might target here in the next few rounds if he drops. But he just can't stay healthy. Adrian Peterson is the old one. He's still around. But let's just go ahead and go to Terry McLaurin and keep it moving here. And then we'll scroll back up, go through the picks. Once again, this is looking pretty good for us here. So after the Scary Terry pick, we had Russell Wilson come off the board, and then Dak Prescott, Jarvis Landry, Michael Gallup, Marlon Mack, Hollywood Brown, Evan Ingram, Hunter Henry. Beginning of the 7th round, we had Josh Allen, Darius Geis. We had just talked about him. Well, he didn't drop He only dropped one more round, and I couldn't even get around to him. That's still a little early for me. Aaron, wow, third pick in the 7th round. I just think there's going to be more value for QB, hence why I haven't drafted one. The Matt Ryan. So we had a run. And then Sony Michel, Kerryon Johnson, we just talked about DeAndre Swift. So DeAndre Swift actually goes a pick later in Kerryon Johnson. That's interesting. Tyler Boyd, and then it's up. For me, we're in the 7th round, 9th pick. Let's come back over here. Boy, we still got some good stuff left on our roster here, or on the on my board. We have running backs Josh Jacobs, Todd Gurley, Raheem Mostert's on the team. Then we have wide receivers Chris Godwin, Allen Robinson, and Terry McLaurin. So truthfully, I'm still looking at just adding some depth. Yes, it wants me to pick Carson Wentz. ADP is 91. We're at pick 81. I just think we could still probably get ourselves a good QB in that 8th, 9th, or 10th round, in my opinion. If we look at my QBs, I have Carson Wentz, Drew Brees, Matthew Stafford, Tom Brady. Those are still available, and those are my tier 2, and I think they're still going to be available here in the next few rounds. Kareem Hunt is still on the board. Ronald Jones is on the board. Marvin Jones is on the board. We're going to be picking pretty soon after this. So the way we have it structured here, I think Kareem Hunt in the 7th round is still pretty good value, but also Ronald Jones. I go ahead and take a look at our sleeper episode. We'll have that in the description below as well. I talked about Ronald Jones a lot. Yes, they drafted the Tampa Bay Buccaneers drafted Keyshawn Vaughn, but I just, Bruce Arians has shown that he doesn't really like rookie running backs, and I don't know if hashtag Tommy is going to be a guy that's going to want a rookie running back in there, catching balls and pass blocking as well, and then running the ball. I just don't think that's going to be the case. So it's down to Kareem Hunt or Ronald Jones. And you know what I should do is just go ahead and go off my draft board, and let's go ahead and pick up Kareem Hunt. I think he does have a lot of standalone value. And boy, if anything happens to Nick Chubb, we don't like to say that. Anything happens, he falls into RB1 in a heartbeat because he's done it in the past with the Chiefs. Okay, cool. That's what happened is Ronald Jones is still on the board, but Marvin Jones is another guy that I haven't mentioned yet that I'm targeting as well. I just mentioned previously that I do like Detroit Lions wide receivers, Kenny Galladay. Marvin Jones, before he got hurt, I think it was in week 14, we talked about this in a episode of Players You Want to Target. I think Marvin Jones was like the 13th ranked wide receiver before he got hurt. And that was with, I don't know, 8 or 9 games with Matthew Stafford. I don't remember who the guys. David Blau, Jeff Driscoll, I think. Those were the QBs that were throwing in the ball, and Kenny Galladay, and they're still performing. I think Matthew Stafford is coming back healthy, and I just really like the idea of getting a guy that I think could finish as a low-end wide receiver 2 as my first wide receiver on my bench. That is great, in my opinion. So I'm going to go ahead and pick him. They are asking me to pick, or telling me to pick Carson Wentz, Tyler Higbee, Emmanuel Sanders, but Marvin Jones is the pick here, in my opinion. Grab a quick drink. Once again, if this is something that you guys are going to like, we're going to try to pump out as many of these mock drafts as possible. So go ahead and click that subscribe button, hit the bell as well. Once again, leave a like, leave a comment, leave it all. Just let us know if you have questions or anything like that. Just let us know. We'll try to answer for you as quickly as possible. So after the Marvin Jones pick, Ronald Jones did finally come off the board, which is, I think, great. A 5th pick in the 8th round is great. Jordan Howard is another guy I like this year just because of the volume possibilities with him and Matt Breida, because that's about it when it comes to running backs on that team. Drew Brees, Phillip Lindsay, Christian Kirk, Mike Williams, Darius Slayton. And to round out the 8th round, we had Emmanuel Sanders. Beginning of the 9th round, we had Sterling Shepard, CeeDee Lamb, Matt Breida, Tevin Coleman, Mecole Hardman, Alshon Jeffrey is the 6th pick in the 9th round. Keyshawn Vaughn, I mentioned him earlier. Darrell Henderson of the Rams. So it is the 9th pick in the 9th round. Let's go ahead and take a quick look at our roster here. So for running backs, we have Josh Jacobs, Todd Gurley, Raheem Mostert, and Kareem Hunt. That is some good running backs, and this is going to be even better for wide receivers. Chris Godwin, Allen Robinson, Terry McLaurin, and Marvin Jones. So let's go ahead and go to my rankings here. Once again, you can do this. I believe it's a premium function. Highly recommend getting Fantasy Pros premium functions because of the ability to customize anything and everything. You can copy and paste a list of names that you've created in an Excel or Google Sheets or anything like that. You can copy and paste that in there and they'll do the work for you. And then you can drag and drop your players and create a sheet. It's amazing. That's what I did. I was able to do it very quickly, in my opinion. So if I come over to my board here, Tyler Higbee was my 78th best player, and we're at pick 105. And guess what? I need a tight end. There's a lot of kind of hate going around when it comes to Tyler Higbee, or a lot of just like, I don't believe what he did was real last year. I think what he did can be real. Yes, he went nuts. So yes, it maybe comes down a little bit, but they played a lot of 12 personnel. And that's, one running back, two tight end, and two wide receivers, I believe. And the reason why they did that is because the offensive line didn't hold up compared to what it had in the past. And when he was on the field, even with Gerald Everett, who was a higher draft pedigree and thought he would be the guy, Tyler Higbee was the one catching the balls. And he was performing. So why would you think that Sean McVay, who is a savant in this league as a head coach, saw that this was working? Why would you think that would stop working, or why would you think he would go away from that? He showed that he can catch the ball, Tyler Higbee. He can still block. So, and guess what? I need a tight end right now. Austin Hooper, Jared Cook, those are the top three on my list. So this just worked out perfectly. But we're just going to go ahead and choose Tyler Higbee. Oh, this is even better. Number 8 on the strength of schedule for Fantasy Pros. Makes it even easier for me for a decision. And then we'll scroll back up. Once again, if you don't believe in Tyler Higbee, let me know. My Twitter handle is at JW_the upside. Let me know how wrong I am. Please. So after the Tyler Higbee, sorry, I can't even speak now, was J.K. Dobbins. Great rookie, in my opinion. A lot of running backs in that room. Robbie Anderson, Latavius Murray into the 9th round. Beginning of our double digits round, we had Jerry Jeudy, Deontay Johnson. Deontay Johnson is a big guy that Kyle loves in fantasy football right now, is Deontay Johnson. I think he's going to be picking him pretty early in drafts. James White came off in the 3rd pick of the 10th round. And you know how I said that there's going to be, some QBs available later in the rounds. I think I mentioned 8th, 9th, and 10th. And guess what? We're in the 10th round right now. And you have a guy named Carson Wentz that is still available, and also Matthew Stafford. Those two are very enticing to me. Carson Wentz, he put up a heck of a year without having much of a cast around him. His wide receivers were banged up. Alshon Jeffrey, Deshaun Jackson, they were banged up. They were having to throw a lot of different wide receivers out there that you had never heard of. Greg Ward came out, played well, got hurt. I just think, Carson Wentz, if he has all the tools around him, which the Eagles drafted Jalen Reagor. They brought in Marquise Goodwin from the 49ers in a draft day trade that kind of came underneath the radar here. They added weapons. Miles Sanders, Boston Scott out of the backfield that can catch the ball. I mentioned Zach Ertz. I mentioned Dallas Goedert. He's got weapons, and he still has a good offensive line. Yes, Brandon Brooks out for the year. Ruptured Achilles. That sucks. I think they're going to bring back Jason Peters to either play left tackle. Kyle mentioned maybe playing right guard, taking Brandon Brooks. I don't think Jason Peters ever played guard. They have, his name is spacing me right now. They drafted a left tackle. I can't remember his name now, sadly. They drafted him last year. They want him to be the left tackle of the future. So I don't know if they put him inside, but I just think Carson Wentz is the pick here. Once again, we're in the 10th round, and I was able to pick a great QB in my opinion. Here, we can go back to this is what's cool too. I think I can go back to show drafted, and I can click on my QBs. Where did I had Carson Wentz as my 9th best QB. So that is pretty good in my opinion. So once we get into these, later round picks here, you're almost kind of doing dart throws, but they're educated dart throws in my opinion. So let's scroll back up real quick. So we can let's talk about what went after the Carson Wentz pick. We had Sammy Watkins, Anthony Miller, Alexander Madison, Golden Tate, Preston Williams, Jamison Crowder. Oh, we have a defense alert. 49ers came off the board, and then Henry Ruggs came off the board with the last pick of the 10th round. Another rookie. I do like rookie wide receivers. Scare me still sometimes. Depends. Let's see if I pick one, though. Beginning 11th round, we had Tony Pollard, Rashad Penny, Rob Gronkowski, Justin Jefferson, N'Keal Harry. N'Keal Harry is a guy that I like to target towards the end of my drafts this year, especially with Cam Newton being signed to the Patriots. As of this recording, that was done already. We had Pittsburgh Steelers defense, Tariq Cohen, New England defense, and then it's my pick. We're in the 11th round, 9th pick. So let's see here. We had over here on our draft board, we got Austin Hooper, Jared Cook at tight ends. I already have a tight end. I may pick another one. I am not a guy that likes to pick 2 tight ends because there's going to be tight end value on the waiver wire. And, I mean, if you don't pick those top 3 anyways, I think 4 through 15 are going to be pretty dang interchangeable in my opinion. When I say top 3, I am saying Travis Kelce, my guy George Kittle, and Mark Andrews. After that, I don't think there's going to be that many points separating 4 through 15. So I think I'm going to be okay with, going with Tyler Higbee unless somebody like Noah Fant drops to like one of my last position player picks. So after that, Zach Moss, because I already have my QBs, Zach Moss, Deshaun Jackson, Curtis Samuel, Boston Scott. I like picking rookie running backs. I like Deshaun Jackson as well. It's just he got banged up, and I don't know what's going to happen when he comes back. I mean, he's built on speed. He had a core injury, and I know it's not a leg injury, but, man, that really, really, that struggled for him last year when he went out. He tried to come back and just couldn't do it. Sorry if you hear motorcycles in the background. It's a nice day out. People are riding motorcycles. Sorry. So I mentioned rookie running backs. I liked Zach Moss this year. They've come out. The Bills have said, he's going to be filling right into Frank Gore's role from last year. And that means he's getting some first down, second down work, and some goal line work, a lot of goal line work. Frank Gore was getting 12 and a half carries a game. That's not bad. And he was getting goal line work. Yes, I've mentioned this before. Josh Allen is an elite vulture at rushing touchdowns. That's about the only thing he's elite at. Well, he's elite scrambler, in my opinion, because he does that a lot. So you have to be kind of elite at that. But here's the thing. I don't think they're going to want him to run as much. And I think they're going to design more runs for the running backs. And I think that's going to be Zach Moss on the goal line. And, man, that's some really good value, in my opinion, to have Zach Moss here in the 11th round. So I'm going to go ahead and pick him, and then we'll go over what's been drafted, and then we'll go over what's on my team right now. Let's do a recap. I need a recap for myself. Give me just a second. So after my Zach Moss pick, Baltimore Ravens defense, Duke Johnson, Buffalo Bills defense, which I do like the Buffalo Bills defense this year. I think they're actually my number 1 ranked defense. That ended the 11th round. So at the beginning of the 12th, we had Curtis Samuel. Was it Chris Edmonds? Why am I spacing? I know it's the Arizona running back. That's my bad. So after that was Adrian Peterson as well. That's going to bug me. Chase. Why? Man, Chase Edmonds. Excuse me. So let's see what we have left here. And let's look at my roster. So at QB, Carson Wentz. Running backs, we have Josh Jacobs, Todd Gurley, Raheem Mostert, Kareem Hunt, and Zach Moss. At my wide receivers, we have Chris Godwin, Allen Robinson, Terry McLaurin, Marvin Jones. Let's look at my wide receivers because I think that's where I'm going to go. And I just mentioned Deshaun Jackson. I do have Carson Wentz as my QB, so I do like to kind of add in those. People forget though, like Deshaun Jackson. I mean, I think it was the first game of the season, 2 touchdowns, 150 some odd yards. Do his beast mode, but once again, he had a sports hernia and he tried to play through some of it in practice. Just didn't play for the rest of the year. Granted, all the reports are that he is healthy now. He had the surgery. Thankfully, it was the injury happened at the beginning of the season, not at the end of the season, so he should be fully healthy. Yes, the guy here at the very top, Jalen Reagor, they did draft him. It's still Deshaun Jackson and Alshon Jeffrey, and then Jalen Reagor is going to be in there as well. So I think I'm going to take like more of the known commodity in this aspect, just because I mentioned rookie wide receivers. They scare me just a little bit. They just show that they haven't really performed as much as some other rookies, especially rookie running backs. So let's just go ahead and tag team Carson Wentz up with Deshaun Jackson. And once again, these are coming off my draft board pretty well for us. So we're looking pretty good in my opinion, but it all depends on what Fantasy Pros thinks. Let me know how you guys think I'm doing. If I'm going too slow, let me know. This is the first one of doing these. So let me know if I'm going too slow, explaining too much, or not explaining enough. Please let me know in the comments below. After that Deshaun Jackson pick, we had Jamal Williams, Brashard Perriman, John Ross, Austin Hooper, Justin Jackson, Jared Cook, Dede Westbrook, and then Chicago Bears defense at the end of the 12th. Beginning of the 13th, we had Tyrell Williams, Nyheim Hines, LA Chargers, Noah Fant, Dallas Goedert, Boston Scott, A.J. Dillon, and then the Jalen Reagor pick did finally come off. Now, you might have been kind of questioning, why haven't I mentioned anything about defense or kicker? Especially defense, not really kicker. Here's the thing. I actually wait till the last 2 rounds for those. That's just a thing with me. And I have proven to be successful in that. I just wait until the last 2 picks to grab my defense and grab my kickers, because at some point you're just going to start streaming both, truthfully. And you're wanting to take some value at these picks at skill positions. These are dart throws at times, but you want to make an educated guess and put up a really good possibility of a guy that could take off. So let's take a quick look. I want to count how many running backs and how many wide receivers I have. I usually like to have about 6 and 6, I believe. That's the way I think we have 16 total roster spots. Yeah. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 running backs. And then we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wide receivers. So let's go ahead and take a look at our rankings here. Let's see if we want to do running back or wide receiver at this position here. And then, you know what? This is another cool thing about Fantasy Pros is you can dismiss somebody for this round. I'm not taking 2 QBs. I don't care if Matthew Stafford keeps falling. I think he's going to have a great year. I don't care if he's going to keep falling. Carson Wentz is my QB on this team. No reason to have another one, in my opinion. That's another one kind of like tight end. They're going to be kind of interchangeable from 5 or 6 to dang near 20. It's going to be pretty interchangeable. So we can actually remove him completely, suggest another player. You know what? We can go ahead and dismiss the Denver Broncos for this round because I'm not choosing a defense right now. Let's go ahead and remove him as well. Let's suggest another player. Please don't tell me you're going to keep giving me QBs. So this is another cool thing we can do. We can just go ahead and hit that flex. That way it's going to tell me where I can go here. So up next, we have 2 roster spots still left. And then based off my rankings, the next 2, I have Damian Harris come down, Michael Pittman Jr. And guess what? That's what they showed me here for suggestions as well. ADP 202, ADP 174, we're at 153. I don't care at this point. ADP is kind of out the window when you start hitting those double digits. You want to target those guys that you like and you love. I really like Damian Harris this year. Sony Michel is always banged up. Always banged up. James White, getting a little bit older, doesn't have those drop-offs from hashtag Twami anymore. Damian Harris was drafted in the 3rd round last year, guys. Yes, he had an up and down year. He didn't really play like at all. When I say up and down, they say, he just never saw the field. I think he's going to see the field this year. It could come down to the fact that maybe Tom Brady didn't trust a rookie running back behind him, because this guy has all the talent. He was dominant at Alabama. The other guy, on here, Darrington Evans. Boy, if you're in a dynasty or a keeper league and you're looking at towards the end of the draft, I would pick up a lot of shares in Darrington Evans. And the reason why is, he plays for Tennessee. Derrick Henry had a big workload last year, and they made the playoffs. He ran a lot, but he's built like a son of a gun, and I think he's going to hold up. But if that's the case, if he doesn't, that's a run-first team. They want to set the run. That's how they want to play. That's how they want to win. This guy would vault right up there. Michael Pittman Jr. talked about rookie wide receivers. This guy's a little bit differently. Yes, I'm a homer. I'm an Indianapolis Colts fan. I know you're not supposed to put that in there and, muddle your decisions on certain things, but he is coming in well regarded as a very well-rounded wide receiver in a position that the Colts need, and that's the X receiver. And hey, Phillip Rivers likes to throw to those guys. Vincent Jackson was with the San Diego Chargers, and he's pretty close to being a replica of Vincent Jackson. Also had Mike Williams the last few years out of Clemson. He was a top 10 pick. He's a big guy. He throws the feet. Phillip Rivers likes to throw the ball downfield to those guys. So, sorry, I'm taking so much time here. Just kind of thinking as I'm talking here as well. But let's just go ahead and let's get the better one based off ADP, just because I'm playing the computer. I'm hoping that maybe Damian Harris will come back to me. So let's just go ahead with Michael Pittman Jr., and let's see if Damian Harris will continue to be on the board for us. See if I can still draft him. So after the Michael Pittman selection, we had James Washington, Mike Gesicki, Tom Brady. There's a lot of Mike Gesicki truthers out there right now. I don't know. This guy, probably drafted a second tight end for his team. Mentioned it already. Him or some other people. I don't know if Hayden Hurst is, let's just look at tight ends. Jack Doyle, Hayden Hurst, TJ Hawkinson, Jonnu Smith, Will Disley, Blake Jarwin. They're still on the board. A few of those are still going to be available on the waiver wire, and any one of those can outperform Mike Gesicki this year. It's a reason why we wait on tight ends, and it's a reason why we only choose one. Tom Brady was the final pick in the 13th round. Hashtag Twami, hashtag immunity pills. Beginning of the 14th round, we had Royce Freeman, Justice Hill, Carlos Hyde. So I am up here with the 4th pick of the 14th round. And let's see here. Sorry, I was looking over, just making sure everything was still sharing and still recording here. Hey, Damian Harris still fell to me. This is going to be the last roster pick that's not a defense or kicker. And that's going to round out my 6 and 6 that I like to do. So I've already talked about Damian Harris. I think he could win this job eventually in the season. So if you can hold him on your roster, or let's say Sony Michel, he had another surgery this offseason, another foot surgery. Let's say he doesn't come back healthy. James White isn't a guy that they're going to have carry the entire workload, and I think they're going to have to lean on the run a lot this year. The Patriots are. So why not have a dart throw for the 14th round with Damian Harris? So after my Damian Harris pick, we had Antonio Gibson. I do like him. He's starting to get a lot of kind of love from the fantasy football community as kind of a gadget player. I mean, he played wide receiver, I think, at Memphis, and they listed him at running back, but he's going to be a do-it-all kind of guy at 225 pounds. You don't think of a gadget player as 225 pounds. So That's maybe a disrespect to Antonio Gibson. So after that, Matthew Stafford. What? See, this is what I mean, guys. Value towards the end for QB. Matthew Stafford can finish as a top 5 QB, and I would not be surprised. And he just went off in the 15th round. Jalen Samuels, Raquel Armstead, Malcolm Brown, Darrington Evans went off the board. Anthony McFarland Jr., the Pittsburgh Steelers. Josh Kelly, I believe he's a rookie for the LA Chargers. That was the end of the 14th round. At the beginning of 15th, we had Devontae Freeman sighting. He hasn't even been signed yet. He may be signed in the training camp. Maybe somebody gets hurt, but I don't want any shares in the Devontae Freeman lottery. Corey Davis, Gus Edwards, Justin Tucker, Harrison Butker, Baker Mayfield, the Saints defense, and Danny Jones. So what we have now, everybody, is kicker and defense. Let's go ahead and take a look at the defense first. This is what the suggestions are, but let's look at my defense, in my opinion. And you'll see something that not everybody does see, and that's Denver Broncos as my best one, and I still have as a tier 1 defense. Von Miller's getting a little older. He is. His sack totals were down last year. They were. But their his counterpart, Bradley Chubb, he got hurt last year pretty early in the season, and that really showed how much that hurts. And that's the thing, though. If you get him back, which I believe he is, and you get Von Miller and Bradley Chubb coming off that edge, look out for Vic Fangio. Look out. I think there's a lot of stuff that could happen on that defense. And yes, another homer pick for the Indianapolis Colts, but just take a look at their first few games. I think they have a pretty good schedule those first few games. And once again, you're going to start streaming eventually. So sometimes you just kind of look at those first few games. Strength of schedule for the Denver Broncos is number 5. I like to see that. Let's go ahead and choose the Denver Broncos. Sorry, Vikings. You lost half your secondary or more. And you had to get rid of some major guys on that defense for the Minnesota Vikings because you freaking had to pay Kirk Cousins again. Oh, boy. I'm not going to understand that one. Let's go to kicker here. Let's go back real quick. I just mentioned Kirk Cousins, and he was the pick right after the Denver Broncos. Why is he going? Why is he being drafted? Greg the Leg Zerline, Giovanni Bernard was the end of the 15th round. Beginning of the 16th, Will Lutz, and then Green Bay Packers defense. The new kicker for the Patriots. Can't even say his name. Not even going to try. Sorry about you. So what I have here, excuse me, for kickers is Matt Prater, Robbie Gould, Matt Gay, Young-Ho Koo. Those are my top ones. Excuse me. That's what you see here as well. Now, I mentioned streaming when it comes to kickers and defense, but here's the thing. When it comes to kickers, if you have a chance at a higher-end kicker, what I think is higher-end is just having a really good offense. He plays for the 49ers. They had a really good offense last year, even though they kind of stalled out here. Their rushing is insane, and that could be something they're going to get close to the red zone, and maybe that they get stuffed. They are not going to put too much pressure on Jimmy G to create. So I think there's going to be a lot of field goal possibilities. But if you look at my board, I have Matt Prater. But here's the thing. By week 11, by week 5. So my draft board might change a little bit. My rankings might change a little bit because I like to look at that. If I can draft somebody at kicker and defense that has really good games to begin the season and they don't have a bye week for a while, I like to choose those guys because I don't have to worry about it. I can set it and forget it if they're that good. So that's why I think I'm going to go ahead and lean towards the Robbie Gould and keep it moving. Sorry, I probably put way too much time on kicker for you all. So after that pick, let me see if I can look down here. Fairbairn went, Matt Gay, Zane Gonzalez, the Vikings defense, Kansas City Chiefs, Matt Prater, Young-Ho Koo, Dan Bailey. So let's go ahead. They gave me an A-, 92 out of 100. That's not too bad when it comes to a redraft league, in my opinion. Let's take a look at, some more of the premium functions, features. It's probably going to be towards the top of the teams. Yeah, I thought I was going to be towards the top of the A-. Ooh, Akers going to fake. great draft, I guess. We'll have to look into that. This is another cool thing. This is based on Fantasy Pros. You can do poll of 42 experts, or you can also go your own cheat sheet, and that's a shocker there. But we'll take a look at the Fantasy Pros one. Second ranked for overall, starter 6. I do have some good depth on my bench. We'll make this quick here. Steals, I don't. Let's see here. Did I have any steals? My team. I forgot to even label my team. That's my bad. Tyler Higbee, Carson Wentz. Not too bad. Team analysis. My strongest position is my flex. I have Raheem Mostert in there. It's not shocking. Yeah, look at that. I'm towards the top of most of these selections, in my opinion. That's a pretty good team. So let's go through it real quick. QB, Carson Wentz. Running backs, my starting running backs, Josh Jacobs, Todd Gurley, and I have Raheem Mostert in my slots, or my flex, sorry. Wide receivers, Chris Godwin, Allen Robinson, Scary Terry McLaurin. For my defense, Denver Broncos, Robbie Gould is my kicker. And my bench, boy, I do like this depth of my bench here. Marvin Jones, Kareem Hunt, Zach Moss, Deshaun Jackson, Michael Pittman Jr., Damian Harris. We're called the upside for a reason. These guys have upside and tons of it. So I'm going to go ahead and stop the share here. Take it home for us here. That's pretty much all I have for you today. I don't even know how long that was. I'll find out here shortly. But do me a favor. Please follow us on Twitter. We're at FB_upside. And myself, I am at JW_the upside. We're both active on those accounts. Kyle is at Kyle_the upside. Once again, please hit that subscribe button and click that bell. Give us a thumbs up or a comment. Just let us know. Thanks for hanging out with me. This is fun. This is the first time I've done that solo. Thanks for being part of the upside. If you stayed for the whole thing, click that subscribe. Peace out, guys. Thank you very much.